On today's show, are we underrating what Dante Exum could bring to the Dallas Mavericks? We'll talk about that and Australia versus Germany and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Top Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Join the Raccoon Squad, be an everyday, or subscribe or follow for free. Just search Locked On Mavericks wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section, what do you expect from Dante Exum on the Mavericks this season? We're going to talk about him a little bit later today. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. New customers right now can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. If you want to support the show, text us, get text alerts from us on Mavs rumors and more. Subscribe to our subtext to get text straight to your phone. We'll be ramping that up as the season starts. Oh, I'm so ready for it. I'm so ready for Mavs season to start. Joining me, as always, nobody. He's not here. Isaac Harris is out, hanging out with family at a long day at church. I think he's still at church at this point. If you don't know, Isaac is also a pastor in the area here in DFW. And so he's got a lot on his plate, 2 toddlers and all that. So we're kind of splitting time here doing some of these FIBA games. But we're going to talk about Dante Exum today. I really want to get into what he's done for Australia and what he could be for the Mavericks. I, of course, want to break down that Australia versus Germany game because you got to know, Dirk was in the house. He's working with FIBA. We knew he was going to be over there, but seeing the cutbacks to Dirk, chef's kiss. It was just great. Even though Australia lost and I wanted them to win, seeing Dirk on the sidelines, always great. Always great. So we'll break down that. How did Australia lose that game? They were in control late in that one and then just collapsed in one of the weirdest endings of a game I've seen in FIBA so far. We'll talk about that. I'll also talk about Canada with Dwight Powell. Watched what he did against Lebanon. Canada, man, they're good. Canada is very, very good. And so we'll talk about that game. But I want to start here. Dante Exum on the Australia, the Boomers, as they call them, is their third guard off the bench. And he's playing this role where he comes in, he's the first guard off the bench, comes in, runs some pick and roll. He will hit a catch and shoot 3 if need be. And he's a big guard that can guard wings. He can guard guards. He can switch. You can do a lot of different things with Dante Exum. You can put the ball in his hands on offense and he can create a play. You can have him play off the ball and run around the perimeter. You can do a lot of things with Dante Exum. And the things that they're doing with Australia right now, the Dallas Mavericks need him to do. I wonder if Dante Exum, you look at some of the players in the Mavericks. Dante Exum is one of them. Omax is another one for the Mavericks, and Derek Lively. These 3 guys were like, I don't know, especially those 2 rookies, if they're going to play right away. Dante Exum, he's been in Europe the last 2 years. Is he really going to come over and play a big role for the Dallas Mavericks? The problem for the Mavericks is, how could they not? They need what those guys do. Those 3 guys I'm watching like a hawk this year to see how Jason Kidd and how the Mavericks decide to use those guys. But I want to talk about specifically about Exum today. He's 6'6". He's 28 years old, so still in his prime. He was drafted number 5 in 2014. And you know who he was drafted by? I'll wait for those to answer at home. Dennis Lindsey and the Utah Jazz. Dennis Lindsey is now working for the Dallas Mavericks. He's credited, or at least a little bit, with some of the good things that have happened for the Dallas Mavericks and, righting the ship a little bit and stabilizing the front office a little bit. I think bringing him on was a good addition, somebody that had experience in the front office to help Nico Harrison, Michael Finley, and all that crew. Dennis Lindsey picked him in 2014. He's a guy that believes in him. I think brought him back at one point after Dante Exum went away and came back at least one time. Utah fans are cheering for him. Yeah, he had a knee injury, came back, and then he went to Cleveland, and then he left and went to Europe, and now Dennis Lindsey brought him back to the Mavericks. Over in Europe the last 2 years, the one thing Dante Exum needed to work on, besides injuries, he gets injured a lot, and he's missed probably more games than he's played when he played in the NBA. He played 82 games his first year, missed his entire second year, 66 games the year after that, 14 games the year after that, 42 games the year after that, 35 games for two different teams when he got traded that year, and then just played 6 games for Cleveland for whatever reason. His last year in the NBA. He struggled with injuries, but the other thing he really needed to work on was his three-point shot. For his career, in 6 seasons total, he only shot 2 threes a game and only shot it at a 30% clip. Not good enough if you want to be a guard in today's NBA. Not good enough if you want to be a wing in today's NBA, really, if you think about it. And he went over to Europe, and he shot 45% on 189 threes over 2 years overseas. Averaged 20 points, 4 boards, 4 assists per 36 in Europe. He was in the 91st percentile on catch and shoot shooting in Europe. 91st percentile, meaning he's better than 90% of all the catch and shoot players in Europe in the EuroLeague. That's taking a weakness and really improving on it. And he hit 2 catch and shoot threes in this game for Australia. He's hit a couple. I've watched all their preparation games. He's hit some catch and shoot threes, and it looks good. Looks like a good shot. If you would just drop me into this Australia, like FIBA World Cup run, and I didn't know Dante Exum wasn't a shooter before, I don't think I would have questioned it. If I didn't have the prior knowledge of, he came out, he's the 5th pick in the draft. The one thing they really wanted to see if he could do was actually was take a 3. He was kind of Ben Simmons before Ben Simmons was, really. He was a big guard, not as big, but big guard that could, was really athletic, do a lot of things, stuff off the dribble, good passer, defense, but he couldn't shoot. And so now he goes over to Europe. He improves the 3-point shooting. It's the thing that I'm going to talk about Dante Exum about probably the whole year. Can that translate? Can that be the one thing that translates for him? And I really hope it does, because the Mavericks, like I said at the beginning, they desperately need what he can do. They need his on-ball defense. They need his defense at the point of attack. They need his size defensively as a 6'6" guard. They need his playmaking ability, because we've talked about they don't have a lot of guys that can make plays with the ball in their hands. You got Luka, Kyrie, boom, amazing. Can do everything with the ball in their hands, those 2 guys. You've got Seth Curry that can run a pick and roll, that he can do some things like that. But you're not going to put him as your main ball handler. You're not, if Luka or Kyrie miss a game, you're not saying, all right, Kyrie starts, and when Kyrie's not on the floor, Seth Curry is on the floor, because we need somebody to run plays. Dante Exum could potentially be that guy, because he's playing it right now for Australia. He's doing that right now for the Boomers. You need his playmaking. You need what he can do as a pick and roll guy. You need what he can do, hopefully, to bring that catch and shoot 3-point shooting over. In this game, he blocked a corner 3. How about this? You need him as a guy that can be a rebounder. Just a big body. He didn't really average a ton of rebounds in the NBA, but like his 3rd year, 6 rebounds per 36. He's just another big guard that Mavericks take a lot of threes. Long 3 goes out, and Dante Exum can grab it better than a 6'2" guard, a 6'1" guard could at that point. So the Mavericks desperately need what Dante Exum can bring. 6'6" guard, 6'9" wingspan, can handle, play defense, potentially hit the 3. And we've seen him confidently hit 3s now in this FIBA World Cup, in Europe last year. And the Mavericks may have to find some room for him in that rotation, because they'll need what he can bring. And I'm excited to see if it actually works out. But I think we may be underrating Dante Exum because of all those things. Coming up, let's talk about this game. How did Australia blow this game? 82-85. Something weird happened with Josh Giddey at the end of this, and I want to talk about it. We'll talk about it all coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel has you covered with all the props, odds, and lines, and all that kind of good stuff. Go check it out, FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready for NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. They put $200 in a different color and guaranteed in a different, even differenter color, which means you know that it's true. Plus, all customers who bet $5 get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube. Hold on. You bet $5 on FanDuel, you'll get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. That's an even different deal. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads, player props, and more. This is important. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. Check out that offer about the $200 in bonus bets, the $100 off of Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV. FanDuel.com/lockedon.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. I enjoyed that.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. If you listen every day, you're part of the squad. Shout out to a member of the squad, Victor, who works at Sister, an incredible restaurant I got to try out with my family the other day. He served us, and he walked up to me and just looked at me and said, I know you. And it turns out he was a listener to the podcast. And great restaurant, Sister. You have to go get you got to go get that banana dessert. It was so unique and good. But anyway. All right, Isaac, let's get into this Australia game. So I want to break it down. The Boomers lose 82-85. My big takeaway in this one was the end, basically. But let's work our way there, even though we talked about Dante Exum already. The Boomers in this one started out down 0-8. Germany came out and were just feasting in the paint and the boards. They're a bigger team. This Germany team, if you don't remember, they have Daniel Tice in the middle. Franz Wagner did not play in this game. He's their best player. You've got Isaac Bonga on the wings. You've got Mo Wagner. You've got Dennis Schroeder, obviously, as the starting point guard. He scored 30 points. He was really good in this one. And they're a bigger team than Australia. Australia has tons of guards and wings. Everybody in their rotation, except for their front court, is an NBA player. But with Josh Green and Dante Exum, Josh Giddey, Patty Mills, Joe Ingles, you've got Xavier Cooks, who's on the Wizards. You've got Jack White, I think, is on the Thunder with Josh Giddey. And then you have the two guys in the middle, Duop Reith and Nick Kay, are the two guys that start at power forward and center for them. And so Germany started out just eating in the paint, just kicking these guys, kicking the Boomers. And this Boomers team has a really good defense. Matisse Thybulle, also Josh Green. You've got really good defenders on this team. But all 8 points to start were right at the rim. You go to a timeout. Australia's down by 8 points just 3 minutes into the game. Brian Goorjian, the coach of Australia, is screaming at these guys. And in FIBA, in some of these games, if you're not watching, you can watch them on ESPN+. You can watch them on that Courtside 1891 site. There are other sites that you can find these games on as well. But the coach, they show the huddles. And so they'll go back and forth, and you actually hear what the coach is saying, which I love. Love to see that. And Brian Goorjian is screaming at Josh Giddey because he just allowed a play on the baseline. He's defending, and bigger guy is posting up on Josh Giddey. And Josh Giddey's wanting help to come, so he points down towards the baseline. Somebody come and help on this side of me. And nobody was listening. Nobody came over, and such an easy play by Germany to a little spin and then get to the basket and a dunk. Josh Giddey's just getting yelled at, and you can hear the coach scream the F word at Josh Giddey. He said, F, we're playing for our lives out there. Such passion, and that passion apparently came over and was instilled into Patty Mills, who's 35 years old, won a title with the Spurs on this Australian national team for a really long time, and he was like, "We're getting back into this game. We're not losing this game." They go down 5-16. That's another deficit that they're in, but all of a sudden Patty Mills just starts going for it. Patty Mills scores their first 13 points of the game. He's just hitting pull-up shots and coming off of pin downs, and he's hitting a bunch of jumpers, and he's then just screaming at the rest of the team. Everything that you could feel from that coach in that first timeout when they were down by 8 points, Patty Mills brought to that first quarter and eventually got them the lead at the end of the first quarter, 25-24. Australia finished on an 18-6 run because of Patty Mills going nuts. Dante Exum came in at the end of the first quarter, had a nice give and go play where he got an assist to their center K, for a three. Josh Green came in. Dante Exum had another drive where he hit a high arcing layup. Then you had the Mavs connection. Minute left. Dante Exum drives, kicks to Josh Green. He hits a three, and you end this. And it was just a really great quarter for the Boomers, for Patty Mills to lead them to score the first 13 points for Australia. And Patty Mills has really been struggling in these FIBA games. In these preparation games, he was 6 of 34 from three in those, 4 games that they played. And so they end the first quarter like that, and you're like, okay, they're back in this one. And they were back in this one. You got a little bit more of Exum in the second quarter. He had a nice assist to Xavier Cooks in the pick and roll, where he's just running the pick and roll. He's the guard running the offense. He's their third guard. It's Giddey, it's Patty Mills, Joe Ingles a little bit here and there, and then it's Exum. Those are the guys that run the offense for Australia. Josh Green's contribution to this game, he had some really good defense. His numbers aren't going to pop out to you at all. He scored 6 points. He had a rebound. He had a foul, -6 in the game. Like, his stats aren't going to pop out at you, but he was their best defender on Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder scored 30 points in this one. He was just going nuts. He was trying to get every switch he could. Any switch he could that was against Duop Reith, Nick Kay, any of the bigs on Australia, basically. Even Xavier Cooks, too. Any of the bigs he can get switched on him. Joe Ingles, for sure. Anybody he can get switched on him, he was attacking. He was Schroeder 10 of 19 from the field, 5 of 9 from 3, 5 of 5 from the free throw line. Also had 8 assists. Like, he was just dealing out there. And it was weird to see Dirk on the sideline. I'm not going to lie. It was weird to see Dirk on the sidelines getting really excited and putting up the Dirk, three hand when Dennis Schroeder would throw a three up, because I think they've got a history, and I don't think that it's a positive one. But he was cheering on Germany no matter what. And so Schroeder is out there with no Franz Wagner, taking out this Australia team. Josh Green was the only guy that they really put on him that I thought was good. And so you watch his on-ball defense and say, oh, okay, he'll be good. And that's what that's what the Mavericks need from him. They need him to be good, they need him to be good as a on-ball defender. They just really need that desperately. Josh Green also hit 2 threes in this one that you really need. And honestly, hits a couple threes, plays really good on-ball defense. He only played 16 minutes. They only play 40 minutes in these FIBA games. So if you look at minutes, and if you just look at the minutes number, Josh Giddey played 30 minutes. 30 minutes, missed almost a whole quarter. No, but it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that with some of these minutes, because there's so many guys that need to play. They end up playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They played 10 guys in this one. And you have to adjust the minutes for what you think about the NBA. 16 minutes in an NBA game is not that many, but in a FIBA game, it's a little bit more. So Josh Green, couple of threes, good on-ball defense. Didn't make a huge contribution in this game, but he did play instead of Matisse Thybulle. Remember, this whole thing with Josh Green is that he was going to start. He was having the elbow injury issue in the preparation games. So the coach, as soon as he came back, they started him, and the coach said that he's going to play and start ahead of Matisse Thybulle. Then Josh Green has that weird ankle injury, and then Matisse Thybulle started ahead of him, and he's played less minutes ever since then. So we're not sure if they're trying to keep it, if they're really trying to be cautious with Josh Green. I wouldn't blame them, and I would be happy if they did that and kept it really cautious with him. And so Matisse Thybulle started ahead of him in this game as well. Played 1.5 more, just one more minute than Josh Green did in this one. And Josh Green played later in this game than Matisse Thybulle did. So it's not that Josh Green is not important to this team. It's just about the injuries and things like that. Coming up, I want to talk about how this game ended, because it was a wild ending, and it's a weird one where Josh Giddey had just the weirdest end to this game that they should have won, and we'll talk about why coming up. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. Supposed to have a video that plays in there, and I couldn't get it to play for whatever reason. All right, let's get into how this game ended. So you go into the fourth quarter. Australia's up by 4. Exum had a really big impact in the third quarter. He had all the stuff that I was talking about before. He was running the offense, hit 2 threes, doing a lot of stuff. He finished this game with 9 points after hitting, or he had 1 3, a couple free throws, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, and then a block on a corner 3 that was huge. They go into the fourth quarter. Schroeder's just killing them on switches. Any switch he gets, he's attacking. And you have this back and forth in the fourth quarter. Germany goes on a run. Australia comes back and goes on a run. About 2 minutes left. Australia's down by 2. Josh Green's picking up Dennis Schroeder full court. He gets called for a carry. And Josh Green wasn't even up on him that much playing defense. But Schroeder gets called for the carry. Giddey then kind of takes over a little bit. He drives, ties the game. On the other end, Josh Green was guarding Dennis Schroeder. He got switched off of him. Dennis Schroeder gets fouled. It's basically anytime Josh Green wasn't on, Dennis Schroeder, he would score in this one. Giddey on the other end, ISO, drive, score, 81-81. Minute left. Patty Mills on offense, drives, terrible turnover. Patty Mills, remember, had gotten them back into this game. He finished with 21 and 6 assists in this one. He was the one that really got them even to kickstart this game with scoring the first 13 points. But an awful turnover with a minute left. Just drives and loses the ball. It's almost as if he dribbled into a dead spot on the floor and the ball just goes a different direction than he expected. On the other end, Schroeder scores on a switch against Xavier Cooks. Again, another switch. Green was chasing him, but Xavier Cooks was the one right there. Dirk's on the sideline, throwing up like he's super excited about it, clapping for him. On the other end, Giddey gets fouled. So Giddey, 3 possessions where he's taken over in this game where they desperately needed it. He missed one of the free throws. Australia's down by 1. 23 seconds left. Schroeder steps out of bounds. Josh Green's guarding him on the sidelines, and he goes out of bounds. But Josh Giddey tried to go for the ball as Dennis Schroeder's going out of bounds. He throws the ball. Giddey goes for the ball, and in the air gets scratched by one of the Germany players. And he's bleeding. His arm is bleeding. Again, Australia's down by 1 at this point. Giddey is bleeding, and they take him out of the game. Australia has to call a timeout because if there's blood, you can't just have a guy play. You have to get the blood to stop, and then if if the refs don't think that it's stopped enough, he has to stay out. And so he's bleeding. They do a timeout. Exum comes in. Josh Green goes out, and Giddey goes out because of the blood. And so their last play, they don't have Josh Giddey, who had really gotten them back into this game at the end here. Patty Mills, another drive, another bad turnover. So 2 awful Patty Mills turnovers within 1 minute in the fourth quarter. Just a terrible, awful turn of events where if Josh Giddey goes in there, maybe they score, they go up by 1, and then it's just a defensive play to try and stop Germany. And instead, Germany gets the win, 85-82. And so now you have Australia, who is in this group. They're in group, and I guess the names don't really matter. Group E, special, with Germany, Japan, and Finland. They beat Finland. They've now lost to Germany, but they only lost by 3, which is good because point differential matters. And so now they play Japan in their next game. That Japan game will be Tuesday at 6 a.m. Texas time. And so they'll play that game. And if they win that game, then they move on. If they don't, then they're out, like France. France lost their game today to Latvia without Porzingis. And now France is just out of it. You lose 2 games in this group stage, you're out. You only play 3. So France lost that one, but Australia has a chance to still continue on if they beat Japan. Japan just got a big win, by the way, too. Japan beat Finland, and that was a really big win for them to stay alive. And so now that's what's happening with the Boomers is they need to win that next game. And so we'll see what happens with them. Last thing here, Canada and Lebanon. Dwight Powell plays for the Canadian team. And oh my gosh. First of all, this Canadian team's very good. Talked about their last game the other day on a bonus episode. Also, Isaac did the bonus episode for Slovenia. We're doing all these games. So whether it's a full episode like this or a bonus episode, we'll do an episode on all these games. But I talked about Canada versus France, where Canada won that game. They're very good. SGA is, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Thunder. He's a killer for them. He only had to play 17 minutes in this game. Canada won this game against Lebanon 128-73. They were up by 50 in like the third quarter. It was just a complete blowout. They're up by like they were up by 36 at halftime. SGA plays on this team. RJ Barrett starts. Dylan Brooks starts. Kelly Olynyk starts. And then Dwight Powell starts with Kelly Olynyk. So they got two bigs starting for Canada. By the way, Dwight Powell starting on a different team with pretty much all NBA players on it. Then you have, other guys off the bench. Lou Dort did not play in this game. You have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, SGA's cousin, on there. Zach Edey, the 7'5" guy from Purdue. Phil Scrubb, I think, played in the NBA. And then I think that's all I think those are all the NBA guys. But yeah, this game was over basically from the beginning. Dwight Powell scored the first 5 points for Canada, basically just diving to the rim, and Olynyk found him on one. SGA found him on another. He got an and one on that one. And you could just tell that SGA was just too good for everybody. He would just turn a corner and dunk or turn a corner and get a wide open layup in this one. The talent difference was so different in this game. It almost looked like they were playing a different division or a different level of competition, basically, for Canada. And so they coasted this win so easily. They ended the first quarter 29-13. Again, like I said, by halftime, it was 66-30. And then by the third quarter, it was 83-33. 83-33. That was with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. It was a brutal, shellacking from Canada to Lebanon. But Dwight Powell in this one, not doing anything differently than what you'd expect from the Mavericks. He's diving to the rim. He's guarding people out on the perimeter a little. He's, boxing out but not getting rebounds. He finished with 3 rebounds. Only played 14 minutes in this one. But 4 of 5 from the field. The only one he missed was this wild alley-oop that Kelly Olynyk just tried. He was stuck on an island and just chucked up an alley-oop to Dwight to see if he could get it there. Dwight almost did, but he missed. And so Dwight Powell doing some good things for Canada. This team is so talented. They're moving on for sure, right? They are now, they move on. They won both of their 2 games. And so they'll move on in the next stage. And I'm really fascinated to see how far this Canadian team could go. We're going to see Dwight Powell late in this tournament. And I think that's going to be something that's pretty fun to watch, especially just watching SGA. RJ Barrett, I don't understand. He's 7 of 12 in this game. He finally had like a comeback game, 3 of 6 from the 3-point line, but he has not been shooting well in these games. Dylan Brooks didn't do a ton in this one, 4 of 5. He played about 20 minutes. But there's interesting, fun guys on this Canadian team. I'm excited to watch them going forward. That's what Dwight Powell did. That's what Canada did. That's what we're doing today. Let us know in the comment section what you think about Dante Exum going forward. Tomorrow, we'll be back with Slovenia versus, who are they playing? Georgia. Georgia, the country, kindly asks you to mind your P's and Q's. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.